Yeah, it'll be interesting too. And to your point, at any given point, Jones could go down. And
Yeah.
Chandler stepped into a starting role last year. And he wasn't terrible.
No, well, averaging 4.5 yards a carry is
It was
pretty
pretty
darn
good,
good.
yeah.
So,
And
and
six
there's
point
another
three
one that we
six
had
on the
ranked the
season.
same.
Yeah, that I know that one kind of shocked me. I thought maybe you'd have him higher with the way you're talking about him, but I'll take it.
I don't think he's going to be the starter going into the season.
Oh,
That's why
definitely
I
not.
didn't have him ranked higher.
Moving on, Zach Charbonnet. I believe that's how you say it. The Seahawks.
Yeah, so Zach, um, again, Seattle's got Walker in front of Zach. Zach's, definitely got the edge, I believe, at the number two spot. Um, uh, he actually, had a pretty efficient year last year. He played 16 games. He actually averaged over almost 4.3 yards a carry.
Yeah,
He was involved in the passing game. He didn't really produce a lot of touchdowns. Again, he's behind Walker. Uh, I think if Walker gets injured, Zach is definitely going to have an opportunity to step in. I definitely think he's a bench guy for sure because he's a huge insurance policy if Walker goes down. Until we see more of his role, he could have a bigger role this year. I don't see it, unless Walker gets hurt. I see him as a bench guy, possibly a bye week replacement, or a fill in for Walker if Walker gets hurt.
the only problem I had with Zach last year was the fact that when Walker got hurt, he stepped into the game and was in there for 85% of the snaps, if not more. And he'd have a minimum of 15 attempts and only put up 47 yards in each game. So if you're given the chance, you need to capitalize on that. And
I don't disagree with you there, but Seattle's offensive line hasn't been the greatest. So I think you're only as good as your offensive line. So, but I do agree with you. You got to take advantage of your opportunities.
yeah, and even with how bad their offensive line is, like if you want to compete with Walker, you got to get through that line because he was doing it at a decent rate last year. Not like he was in his first year, but like you said, their line wasn't the greatest. But you still got to do your part, break a few tackles. I know it's easier said than done, but getting paid. Nick Chubb.
Yeah. So Chubb, I had ranked 40. Um, Listen, Chubb is a beast, right? I mean, before he got, in 20, he got hurt the second game of the year last year. He was averaging 6 yards a carry, which is ridiculous. I mean, he's averaged over 5 yards a carry since
Every
he's been
single
in the
year.
league. And this guy is a beast. And obviously, he's struggled, with, I believe it was 2020 is when the last time when he hurt his other ACL, I believe it was, because he only played 12 games that year. But I mean, he's averaged, with the exception of his rookie year, which he missed it by 4 yards. He's averaged 1,000 yards a season. He's been over 1,000 yards every season. So I think the reason I had Chubb ranked lower is there's just a lot of question. He's currently on the pub. There's a lot of question on when he's actually going to be able to play. Um, so, if he's able to start the season, which he could, he got hurt the second
Yep.
game of the year. He could be really close. They could just be taking it slow. If he starts early in the season, I think Chubb is definitely a starter. I mean, until somebody knocks him off or he shows that he's not being productive, you got to start him. I think until we know when he's going to play, that's the question, right? And if he has a setback,
Yeah.
which could happen. So that's why I ranked him lower. I think he's a huge risk to draft higher. I get it, the upside if he comes back and he's fully healthy and stuff. And he's a freak of nature. Don't get me wrong. This guy, I've seen videos of what he's benched, what he's squatted.
Squatting over like 500 or 600 or something.
I mean, this guy he's a freak of nature. But that, again, it all depends on where he comes in the season. So that's why I ranked him a little bit lower. If he starts off right away, and for some reason he starts off in the season, he's obviously going to go up on the rankings.
Yeah, if Chubb like starts off this season as the starter, for me he's like a top 15 guy at least. But we were both kind of playing it safe here, not knowing whether or not he's going to start. If he doesn't start, we're talking a minimum of 4 weeks where he's not going to be playing. I think it'd even go into 6, and even then he could just be eased into the offense. I do think he'll be probably the second best back because Ford will probably be healthy all year. So in that offense now, if Chubb starts the year, like I said, top 15 for me. That injury last year is just kind of unfortunate with the way he got hit.
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with his preparation or. I think the guy
he just
takes care of his
body,
and a lot of times those ACL injuries are freaky.
Well, and with the way his was really bad.
His was really freaky. So, and I think that's the other reason why they brought in Dante Foreman too, is because they're just not sure when Chubb's going to be able to play.
Yeah, and if Chubb starts off the year, like he's going to be a top 15 guy. I think you can definitely draft him earlier. But if he's not starting the year, I wouldn't take him in the first like 4 rounds, probably even. Probably be like a 5th rounder in my eyes, but that's because you're taking a chance on him being injured. And at the end of the day, you need points weekly, not just at the end of the year.
I will say that I could see his passing production and the passing game go down just to maybe save him a little bit of wear and tear.
Yeah. But he wasn't utilized a ton.
No, but he was averaging 20, over 20 receptions and stuff. So I think Ford might dip into his receiving stats and stuff. But to me, I think that's something that obviously Chubb is a stronger runner than Ford, but Ford is really effective in the passing game.
Well, so they could even go to something if Chubb started the year. They could have him be the first and second down back, and then kind of do what they did with Hunt and have Ford be like that third down guy who can run the ball and give you a change of pace or receive the ball.
Right.
But yeah, Nick Chubb, if fully healthy at the start of the year, you can really just draft him wherever you want. He's consistently putting up like 9+ touchdowns a year, with last year being the exception to that on average, and the dude's just a beast. But I think we played it safe. I think we played it smart here as well, and put him in a spot where we kind of are expecting him to be on the pup list right away at the start of the year, and then come off that at some point. Chase Brown of the Bengals.
I really like Chase Brown. I think last year, I think he was dealing with a little bit of an injury bug last year in his rookie year. But he still played 12 games. He still averaged over 4 yards a carry. They did use him in the passing game. I think the addition of Zach Moss obviously is, Zach proved last year, filling in for Jonathan Taylor, that he could get the job done. So obviously I don't see Chase Brown leapfrogging Zach Moss. I really don't. I think Moss is going to be the guy, the starting running back. I could see them using Chase Brown, a little bit in the passing game, relieving Moss here and there, I had him ranked right around here at 39. I don't see him leapfrogging Moss unless Moss gets hurt, and I think Moss is going to have. I think he's going to have a good year, and I think he's going to make it difficult for Brown to get opportunities. And I think Brown's opportunities are going to be in the situations where Moss needs a rest, or possibly on third downs. That's kind of where I see him. I definitely think he's a bench guy because I think Brown, if he's healthy all year, he does have the potential to break loose. So, I don't know that I would say that he's a flex guy, um, and unless you were really desperate, and I don't know that he would be a flex slash starter unless something happened to Moss.
Yeah, and you never know. That could happen. Moss does have a history of being injured year in and year out. So Brown does have a chance to get some solid reps, and I think having him sitting here at 38 is pretty good. I agree with you. Bench player, again, at best.
Good
Nice.
insurance policy if
Yeah.
you have Zach Moss. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe take a flyer on Chase Brown in the later rounds and have him on your bench
Yeah.
just to see how Moss, and his competition plans out.
I could totally see the Bengals using him, Chase Brown, more in the passing game. Just looking, and don't get me wrong, he only had 14 receptions last year, but he was averaging over 10 yards a reception. So I could totally see him being involved in the passing game, especially with them not having Tyler Boyd anymore. It could be a nice little safety net to have Chase Brown in, give Zach Moss some rest so he doesn't, get hurt or anything, and kind of utilize Brown because he, again, 14 receptions, did pretty well with those 14 receptions.
I believe they didn't. With Trayvon Williams, I believe they drafted him, didn't they? Or oh no, Trayvon. He was with. Was he with them?
Mine's not loading.
Because you're on 2024. So
Yeah, he's been with Cincinnati as
okay, okay. So they do have Trayvon too, but I don't think Trayvon's going to have any immediate impact. So
this is a team I could totally see here with free agency, maybe picking up another running back like Dalvin Cook or someone just to have a nice little safety net, or if they're not fully sold on Brown, they could totally have someone like Cook in the back pocket.
I think they're high on Brown, so I'm not seeing anything like that happening. But who knows? Injuries could dictate that.
Well, our favorite Javonte Williams.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I know I talked a big game with McLaughlin. Um, I like Javonte Williams. I think he's got a lot of upside. And I'll be honest with you, I if the Vikings decided to make a move for him, because I heard they could, I wouldn't be disappointed at it. If for some reason Denver does decide to cut him, or potentially trade him. I know 2022 he was hurt, but his rookie year he played 17 games. Last year he played 16 games. Geez, he had 47 receptions. He was active in their passing game. But like I said, for some reason I keep hearing that Sean Payton is just he's in his doghouse for some reason. I don't know why. I don't get it. Um, maybe it's because he only averaged 3.5 yards a carry. I mean, he only averaged, 4 something yards a reception. That could have something to do with it. So maybe Peyton just doesn't see him at in his long term plan. So I don't know. I still think Javonte Williams has a lot of upside. I think he just listen. I think if he gets out of Denver, that's going to be the best thing for him. And I think if he gets out of Denver into the right situation, I think that Javonte Williams could really be effective. Listen, I think the Vikings would be a good fit, and here's why I say that. I think Javonte Williams would only make Ty Chandler better. I think that he would definitely come in as the number 2 running back behind Jones. I think he would be a huge benefit in our passing game out of the backfield, and I think Jones and Williams would be a great 1-2 punch. That's just my opinion and stuff. But he's only 24 years old. I think there's some other options out there that would be good fits for him as well, and stuff, depending on if teams were interested in him or not. If he can stay healthy, which 16 games last year, 17 games his rookie year. Yes, he was hurt in his sophomore year, only played 4 games. If he stays healthy, he's definitely going to find a place to go. It wouldn't, like I said, um, you know, wishful thinking. I'd love to see the Vikings take a shot, but whether they do that or not, I don't know. They could take a shot on him, and for a year and see what he does, and stuff.
Well, just like they're doing with Jones.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like he's got a lot of upside. But like I said, here's the thing about him. It will not surprise me if the Broncos trade him or cut him, from what I'm hearing. From all the social media chatter and stuff I'm hearing out of Denver and stuff like that. So you just keep an eye on him. Maybe he gets back in the good graces of Sean Payton. But like I said, I just got a feeling that when the season starts, Javonte Williams isn't going to be a Bronco.
Yeah, I don't know if I could cover anything else. I was actually going to ask you when we were talking about McLaughlin there if you potentially saw him actually getting traded to the Vikings. I was thinking about that and kind of just knocked that out. So I guess I.
Well, here's the thing: their GM and for Denver used to work for the Vikings. Yeah. He's got a lot. He's got a lot of connections with the Vikings. It wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings, want to bring somebody else in at the right price. Maybe Williams is the guy.
Yeah, and
he's still under his rookie contract.
Yeah, and we've talked about how the Vikings need to get some depth at running back because obviously we're both Vikings fans, but they need to do something at running back, and I could totally see that happening. And he hasn't really shined at all, so they could get him for cheap as well. So, or they're trading away. I don't know who they trade away, but
they could trade away Lewis Seen. There's talk about Lewis Seen. They could trade away Andrew Booth Jr. I don't know if they'll do that now because of their cornerback injuries that they had. But I still think that Andrew Booth Jr. is a potential cut candidate for the Vikings. I could see them trading a lower round draft pick. I could see them trading maybe a higher draft pick in 2026. I don't know that
they could do something.
I think that there's options out there depending on the needs of the Broncos and stuff. I think it just all depends on what Kwesi and the Vikings are thinking.
Yeah, and like you said,
but I think there's other teams that could be out there interested in him as well. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could use an extra running back.
And like you said, they could trade him for Booth Jr. My thought is maybe the Vikings will sign like 2 guys in free agency to cornerback, and if they ended up trading for Williams, they could actually afford to trade away Booth or Seen even at that. But I don't know. Time will only tell. We'll kind of see how it goes. We still got a month and a half until the season starts, so you never know. Zeke.
Yeah, we got a major difference here because again, like I said, with the quarterbacks, there was a couple there. I think there was a day Wiggs was smoking some really good stuff, and he just threw random guys in certain places. I'm sorry, I'm not high on Zeke. Zeke's 29. I don't think Zeke showed anything last year in regards to being the guy with New England. I think he was splitting with Stevenson last year until he got hurt. He only was rushing. He rushed for less than 3.5 yards a carry. He had 3 rushing TDs and 2 receiving TDs last year. I really think that this was Jerry Jones saying, "Hey Zeke, we don't have a lot of capital here in free agency. We want you back here as a Cowboy." Until Zeke can prove me wrong, I'm not high on him this year. I think he's a huge risk. I just don't. I think he's lost a step. He's not the same running back as he used to be. I mean, personally, I'd rather have seen the Cowboys sign Dalvin Cook. but he's got history with the Cowboys because obviously he played, out of his 8 years, he played 7 of them there with the Cowboys. So I just don't see Zeke having a big year. I think they're gonna, because of his age, given his circumstances, given the Rico and Deuce Vaughn in their backfield. I see the Cowboys using a running back by committee approach like some of the other teams, and at any point I could see if Zeke's not producing, I could see him being leapfrogged by Rico or even Deuce Vaughn.
See, I'm on the completely other side of the spectrum here. I think Zeke is like one of the top sleepers in the draft. That is my little hot take right here. I think he's going to be a sleeper this year. I think coming back to Dallas is just going to be great for him. He's not going to have to worry about being a backup to Stevenson like he was there in New England. And nothing against New England, their offense just was not good last year. So I don't even knock Zeke for only rushing for 640 yards on 180 carries, and he still did his part in the passing game. He had 50 receptions. Like, yes, it was only for 313 yards, but again, Patriots, like, they just have not been the same since losing Brady. So to me, I think Zeke's gonna bounce back this year. I think it won't be like a crazy number. I could see him probably being around like 850 rushing and probably like a good 400 receiving, but I think his touchdowns will be there because I think he'll be the running back in the red